Hi, I'm Koubiyr-ID and I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the Neurocentre Magendie in Bordeaux. I would like to present you our results regarding structural constraints of functional connectivity driving cognitive impairment in the early stages of MS. Multiple sclerosis has been associated with brain disconnectivity. However, several studies of structural and functional connectivity depicted inconsistent results, making the relationship between structural and functional deficits unclear in MS. Our goal in this longitudinal prospective study was to explore the structure-function relationships during the early stages of MS to better understand the pathophysiological changes underlying cognitive performances. And to do that, we have included 32 patients with a clinically isolated syndrome and 10 matched healthy controls. We have followed these subjects over 5 years with 3 time points: baseline, 1 year, and 5 years. Each subject was evaluated using an extensive neuropsychological battery followed by a 3T MRI scan. Then we have processed our data in order to obtain functional and structural connectomes, which are in this case weighted correlation matrices. We also have used some graph metrics in order to define the properties of our networks. And finally, we assess the structural functional coupling as the Pearson's correlation coefficient between strands of structural and functional network. It is important to notice here that this correlation concerned only direct structural anatomical connections. So, from our population characteristics, we can see that our patients present a very low median T2 lesion volume, and the median EDSS significantly increased between year 1 and 5 years. And regarding the cognitive results, we noticed maintained performances during the first year following a CIS, but however, after 5 years, we started to see some cognitive decline, mainly in information processing speed, episodic memory, and executive functions. The composite global cognitive score also showed a decline after 5 years. After 5 years, the extent of the structural alterations was significantly greater compared to that of the 1-year visit, as was the clustering coefficient indicating strengthened short-distance connections. This was also indicated by the significant decrease in characteristic path length compared to both the 1-year and baseline visits, suggesting a loss of long-range connections as well. And regarding the functional networks, the degree was significantly lower after 5 years than at the 1-year visit, while the characteristic path length was significantly shorter than at baseline. This suggested functional recruitment of closer brain regions. And finally, when we looked at the degree of structural functional coupling, it changed significantly over time, with a significant increase seen at the 5-year follow-up visit compared to the 1-year visit. This was due to greater constraints of functional connectivity by direct anatomical connections. We then investigated the relationship between these network alterations and the clinical outcomes. And to do that, we used our longitudinal data with linear mixed effect models. And it was interesting to see that structural functional coupling was the only parameter able to explain the change in global cognitive score, as stronger coupling predicted worse cognitive performances. It was also the case when we evaluated the EDSS, as structural functional coupling was significantly associated to disability progression. So to conclude, our study showed cognitive decline and disability progression mainly 5 years after CIS. When looking at structural networks, our results indicated strengthened short-distance connections and a loss of long-range connections. Then, the results from functional networks suggested stronger local short-distance connections. And after combining both modalities in the structural functional coupling, we were able to demonstrate an increase of this parameter after 5 years, indicating a greater constraint of functional connectivity by direct anatomical connections. And finally, this increased structural functional coupling seems to lead to a network collapse with a worsening in cognitive performances and clinical decline. Thank you for your attention.